6-23 for the Marlins. Probably the worst start to a Marlins season ever. I don't think probably it is the worst start to a season ever. It coincides with Peter Bendix joining the organization, Kim Ang leaving the organization, Peter Bendix seemingly not really prioritizing the big league roster. This is what we get. The Marlins have been a disgrace to start the season. Tons to get into. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins podcast. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Of course, hit me up at Miami Marlins _UK. If you're listening to the pod, of course, hit subscribe and leave a review. Mainly on the quality of the content, not the subject of the content. This is your team every day, of course. And thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. There is a YouTube channel as well, guys. Make sure you hit subscribe over on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channel is called Locked On Marlins. Subscribe, enjoy, and join me in the comments as well. No doubt about it. Guys, this episode is sponsored by our good friends over at FanDuel. You can make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. And guys, unfortunately, Monday's episode, I bring you another Marlins loss. Another, and maybe, it's hard to choose and decide which was the most embarrassing defeat over the weekend. In some ways, it was Sundays because the Marlins, the offense came alive early doors. Jazz Chisholm Jr. with the salami. 7-0. They led. And yet, the Nats claw all the way back and end up destroying the Marlins again. The day before, the Marlins, everything went wrong. It was a total embarrassment of a game. I don't really know which was the worst performance of those two. I think it probably was the Saturday game. Nevertheless, the Marlins sit here at 6-23 with 29 games into the season, just one game away from the Jazz Chisholm Jr. 30-game mark for panic stations. But I think it's fair to say the panic has already set in for Marlins fans. We already know what this team is. We already know what to expect. And yesterday, the Marlins were up 6-0. The Marlins admin took great pleasure in highlighting they were up 6-0. First comment on the string was, but we're going to blow it by the fifth inning. And of course they did. We all know what to expect from this Marlins team. Skip Schumaker spoke passionately after the game as well. Really passionately after the game. He's definitely been, his demeanor, by the way, in post-game presses. Clearly this is a frustrating time. Clearly Skip wants to win. We get it. He's having to be more prickly than he was last year. It's different to last year. When last year the team was winning, they were in it. It was fun. The vibes were high. This year, not so good. Different roster. Different level of performance. Continually shooting themselves in the foot with mental mistakes, mental errors. Littered with mental errors. You can point to the front office all you want. You can point to Peter Bendix and the way that he has, I would say, struggled to deliver the strategic vision to the Marlins fans. And you can point to that all you want. You can point to Peter Bendix and the lack of moves that were made in the offseason. Significant moves, I would say. I think that's all fair. The Marlins didn't really make many moves. However, the roster overall, particularly the offense, was pretty much the same as last year, other than Jorge Soler, clearly. So we can point to the front office all we want, but man, oh man, what's happening on the field as well? These players have to hold themselves accountable. The amount of mindless plays that's occurring is mind-blowing, to be honest with you. We've got, just this weekend, just this series pretty much. I include actually here a game against the Bravos, but does Does the Sixto Sanchez phantom pickoff at second base when there's no runner at second base, does that summarize and it just epitomize the 2024 Marlins? The mental errors, the mistakes, the lack of awareness that's going on. Sixto Sanchez tries to go for a pickoff move at second. There's no one stood there. It ends up being a balk. And because of that, he balks in the run. I mean, that is the Miami Marlins 2024 season in a nutshell. We've got Vidal Brujan, who has the chance to turn a double play. He's at third base. He has a chance to turn a double play on a bunt. And instead, he tries to tag the runner that he doesn't need to tag because it's a forced play at third base. What's Vidal Brujan doing? Then Vidal Brujan yesterday ball was hit straight at him. He dilly-dallies around, sets himself, showboating, whatever he's doing, and then makes an errant throw. Tommy Hutton went bananas at that one, by the way. Tommy Hutton was not happy with Brujan. It's fundamentals. And yeah, I mean, you can point to Brujan offensively, like starting to get things going a touch. Oh man, Brujan, the mental errors. De La Cruz, mental errors. Jesus Sanchez, of course, mental errors. I mean, Jesus Sanchez and Brian De La Cruz, both of those dudes are absolutely brain dead. It's been clear for them. We've watched them guys for years. We know what to expect. Nothing's improving with those guys. They're brain dead. They may have a smile on their face. They may get on hot streaks and they're fun to watch at times. But overall, they are brain dead dudes. I mean, there's no level of coaching. I mean, you can't coach up these dudes. They haven't got a clue what's going on. So I get it. We can be frustrated. I'm frustrated. Everyone's frustrated. We know what this Marlins team is. And the offense is still putrid. Although when the offense got good yesterday, of course, the pitching let it down. No doubt. Let's talk about the pitching, though, as well. I mean, there's so much to get into in this episode. How am I going to... Actually, I'm not going to cover everything. I can't cover the whole of the last weekend series in 30 minutes. It's impossible. So we'll kind of go through big ticket item after big ticket item, I guess, because there's so much going on right now. From a pitching perspective, we saw Jesus Luzardo as well go down with elbow inflammation. I mean, that's how long it's been since I did an episode. But Luzardo went down with a sore elbow. Initially, everyone was panicking. Panic stations galore about Luzardo. Is this going to be another TJ for the Marlins? It looks like at this point that it isn't that serious, which is really positive news, clearly. He's just about to play catch today on Monday, which in some ways is positive. But we've kind of heard this before with Yuri Perez. It's like, it's not that serious. It's going to be fine. Surgery not recommended. Goes out there, throws a bullpen. It's like, oh, okay, actually, no. Yeah, Tommy John required. I remember Jesus Luzardo a few years ago, coming out of a game and going, I'm fine. I'm going to be back minimum stint. The next thing is he was out for months. So I don't trust anything that Jesus Luzardo says. Not because I don't, it's not, he's an untrustworthy guy. Just where injuries are concerned to Marlins players, history tells me not to believe anything they ever say. I think their ability to evaluate the seriousness of their injuries is poor. So, we'll see with Jesus Luzardo. But for me, I think Luzardo in general is one of the biggest examples with Peter Bendix. I think this is where the fan frustration starts to come in. Because yes, the product on the field right now, 6-23 is disgraceful. It's a disgraceful record considering the positions they've put themselves into in games. The amount of blown leads, blown games, significant leads as well. I mean, 7-0 up and you still get spanked. I mean, it's a disgrace, that level of performance. So the record's disgraceful. Peter Bendix is disappointed with how it's gone. Or at least that's what he's saying. Clearly, he has to be disappointed because, listen, if you've got your name attributed to a 6-23 record, no wonder you're disappointed. You have to be. You have to be disappointed. But, as we've mentioned many times, for me, it was plainly clear that this is all about building for the future. And I don't think Peter Bendix ever believed that 2024 was a possibility for the Marlins. With that being said, you have to look at Jesus Luzardo and whether and the rationale for not trading Jesus Luzardo in the offseason, not trading Luis Arias in the offseason. Because if that's your intention, you should just make it happen. You should commit to it and make it happen. Because right now, if Jesus Luzardo does end up having, or there's a need for Tommy John, I mean, that may be the situation, it may not. But he's taken the risk. He's taken the risk. And all of a sudden, if that risk is realized, then boy, oh boy, that is a huge blow for obviously Jesus Luzardo, us as fans, Peter Bendix, everything. The Marlins don't have a ton of assets, to be honest with you, like franchise-changing rebuild assets. They don't have a ton of them. Luzardo is definitely one of them, or was definitely one of them in the offseason. And to not make the move then, knowing what you knew and what you expected, which was a team that was not really going to be in it, then you have to look at that and say, is that malpractice from Peter Bendix? Is it? Or does he not know the plan? I think he knows the plan. It feels to me like he's articulating it. He's telling me a plan. Peter Bendix keeps telling me a plan, but I'm yet to see him executing a plan. Plans mean nothing if you do not execute. And right now for Peter Bendix, all I'm seeing is an 80 grade plan and a 20 grade execution. Execute. Do something. Because all that's happening is nothing. And because nothing's happening, value is decreasing on the guys you want to move, the team is putrid, and the Marlins fan base is up in arms. No one's winning at this point. No one is winning. Come out, be honest, tell the fans what's going on. You know, it'll be painful. But overall, after the initial period of this is really bad and I can't stand this, people will get on board because they'll see and understand the plan. Right now, the plan is muddled. The plan is muddled. Anyway, the outward-facing plan is muddled. The fan base have nothing to get behind. Are you in for 24 or are you not? Are you making moves or are you not? Are we rebuilding or are we not? One eye on the future, one eye on the present. Come on, Peter Bendix. Come out, lay it on the line, and execute. That's what we need to see. That being said, it's time to let you know about our good friends over at DoorDash. Yes, sir. And guys, well, firstly, we need the sexy graphics too. So let's get the producer on the case. There he is. Can't even press the right button. Graphics package not working. I don't know what's going on. Man, oh man. Nevertheless, let you know about our good friends over at DoorDash. And if you want to make mum smile, start Mother's Day with flowers or surprise her with gifts from the brands she loves. Delivered the very same day with DoorDash. Mums are a gift, so give her the best thing this Mother's Day. Get gifts as thoughtful as she is with DoorDash. Select from hundreds of expertly crafted bouquets to the best of tech to self-care essentials and more delivered right to her door. Does mum have a sweet tooth? Whew. I know mine does. Is she a tech enthusiast? No. She doesn't know what the hell's going on. Is she a beauty connoisseur? Yes, sir. Or is she outdoorsy? No matter what she's into, you can make her smile with a fruit or flower bouquet, makeup, tech gear, workout wear, and more. So get all Mother's Day gifts in one place to get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now with code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. And this episode is also brought to you by our good friends over at Monopoly Go. Graphics package is working. Glorious. So, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You've already talked about that. But there is just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for time tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome picks you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. Cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with. Hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or heist their vaults. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot Pikachu machine. Pachinko machine. Yes, that was the word. Pachinko. I couldn't read that for a second then. And there's always new timed events to help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent. Frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now, free on the Google Play or App Store. Game on! All right, guys, back here with me, Peter Pratt. On Monday, the 29th of April, the Marlins are 6-23, just one game shy of that 30-game mark, and we know what that means. They are going against the Nats again this evening. More Nats on a Monday. We'll wait to see how that goes, but if it's anything like the weekend, then we know how that's going to go. Wait to see. I don't believe it's being streamed on TV anywhere or whatever it might be. The Heat are on, the Panthers are on, so the Marlins are shunted to I don't know what package that you guys will get into. But nevertheless, Peter Bendix met the media before yesterday's game. Craig Bish doing the God's work, asking the toughest questions of anyone. So what I would say is when you listen to these interviews and these media sessions, Craig Bish's style is really impressive, actually. The way he asks questions in as few as words possible, but pointed to the question that needs answering. And whenever I see and the funny thing is when Craig Mish asks his questions, the body language of Peter Bendix is visibly different to anyone else. Go and watch that pregame presser and just look at Peter Bendix's body language and the way he responds to the questions when everyone else asks questions and when Craig Mish asks questions. He knows when it comes to Craig, things are about to get spicy, baby. That's why we love Craig Mish. That's why he's the best in the biz, no doubt. Not firing shots at anyone else. I'm just saying that Craig, he is what he is. He's the best in the biz. And yesterday he asked a great question around how are you rating your performance of your off-season moves effectively. I put something out on Twitter. I went through and looked at the Savant pages of all the guys that Peter Bendix has added to the offense. Bruhan, Nick Gordon, Bethancourt. Who else is in there? He added someone else who was not very good as well. Nevertheless, you go and you rattle through and every single profile. Tim Anderson was the other one. All four guys, it is like a super unhealthy savant. And what Peter Bendix lent on, and he gave out a very interesting demeanor and body language and smile, was that it was just simply too early to jump to any conclusions, and that by jumping to conclusions now, he didn't want to waste future opportunities. It's a long season, and the evaluation process is lengthy. But Craig asking the questions around how he sees the off-season additions. He calls out Calvin Fauché as a success story in some ways, but beyond that, it's hard to call out any success stories. He was asked about the catching situation too. Again, called out that it has not been, it's clearly an area that has been a challenge. But overall, with that Peter Bendix presser, it's hard to get pumped up from those pressers, clearly. He's disappointed with the start. We know that. He has to be disappointed. Even if he's secretly thankful that the Marlins season is going poorly, so the draft situation improves. Nevertheless, to have your name attributed to a 6-23 Marlins is not optimal. Not optimal because, listen, Peter Bendix has been he's been hired into a promotion. And when that situation, the pressure is always on. People around the league will be looking around and thinking, does Peter Bendix know what he's doing? Can he handle this role? Can he deliver on this? Or is he just well-versed with the media, analytical guy, but overall, can he cut it? It's the question. It's the question that people will be asking. And a lot of people right now will be going, well, Kim Ang, the Marlins would be 6-23 if Kim Ang was the GM. How do you feel about that? Let me know actually in the comments how you feel. Like, is this bad luck? Is this Peter Bendix driven? Is it the Skip Schumaker thing? Is it just baseball? And the Marlins were lucky last year and they're unlucky this year? I don't know. Here's what I do know for sure. Skip Schumaker post-game yesterday. I was really looking forward to this post-game presser, by the way. Skip Schumaker presser, 8-minute long extravaganza. There were a few things in there that he called out. Again, someone asked, I think it was Christina Di Nicola, asked a bit confusing and overwordy question, which basically was, you were good last year and you're crap this year. What's changed? She didn't say it in that way. And, you know, it went around the houses. But Skip gave an answer that I'm going to summarize it down to. Things are different. A lot of things are different. Primarily, the roster is very different. The pitching staff, very different. The bullpen, very different. He didn't mention anything about the offense, by the way. But Skip Schumaker calling out in his own way, in my opinion, that this Marlins pitching staff, particularly the bullpen, is nowhere near as good as it should be. And who's that on? There's been injuries, obviously, to the rotation, and we get it. But in my opinion, the rotation, they've been able to handle themselves. The bullpen, since spring, has looked undermanned, significantly undermanned. And I think there's a call out there. I think he's calling it out to say, I haven't been given the tools that I needed to deliver here. Let me know what you think. Go back and listen to it. Let me know what you think. But, you know, there's clearly a lot that's gone on. We know Sandy's down. We know Yuri's down. We know Brax went down. Cabrera's back now. But guys are back too. The Marlins have guys too, in Max Meyer, for example, that they're deciding at the moment not to have him on the big league roster in any capacity. He's down at AAA working on stuff. That's fine. That's fine. That's the decision they've made. But again, for Skip Schumaker, could he be a guy that could help now? Absolutely. Absolutely he could. So overall, it's, you know, how do you summarize this situation for the Marlins? 6-23. It's a complete embarrassment. The product on the field is just not good enough. There has to be pressure on Peter Bendix. Skip Schumaker is reaching new levels of frustration on a daily basis. Because again, this is his team. He's the manager and the buck stops with him in some ways. And while Skip is the first to hold himself accountable, he continues to do that. For me, yesterday, I saw some shots towards the front office. I think, anyway, where he was calling out, when you think about what's changed, what's different, calling out, well, the roster's changed. Is that a little knock towards Peter Bendix in the front office? I think so. Is there friction there? I don't know. But Skip won't be happy. Peter Bendix won't be happy. And this is only going one way anyway. The way it's going is they're going to be evaluating trades daily, evaluating moves daily. And we'll wait to see. Speaking of one move, I want to talk about Avisail Garcia and Dane Myers straight after the break. So stick around for that one. Avi onto the IL, Dane Myers up. And the question will be is, again, there was definitely some call out around Dane Myers from Skip Schumaker yesterday. Another nod there that Dane deserved to be on this roster. Avi onto the IL. I don't know how serious, but we'll talk about that shortly. Before we do that, let you know about our good friends over at FanDuel. Yes, sir. We'll get the graphics pumped. I wish these graphics would be ready quicker. But it's playoff time in the NBA and NHL, and baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's Number One Sportsbook. All right, guys, final segment here with me, Peter Pratt, on Locked On Marlins. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen, guys. The Marlins, unfortunately, 6-23. Peter Bendix met the media. Skip Schumaker, post-game presser, too. Lively. During that presser, he called out Dane Myers, was asked about his impact and his impact in his first game back. For those that maybe missed yesterday and that were thinking about other things, I get it, guys. I feel you. But Avisail Garcia to the IL with a reported hamstring issue. Avisail Garcia played in the Saturday game. I think he had at least one hit, maybe two. So Avi, a prototypical outing against a lefty. I would say with Avi, like in his role, he's been fine this year. And I think that's what we called out headed into the year was just short side platoon for Avi. Let him be. It'll be what it'll be. So he heads to the IL. And, you look up and down at the numbers for the Marlins offensive guys. Avisail Garcia is by far not the worst offensive performer for the Marlins. There are guys way underperforming away from Avisail Garcia. So I know he's been the punch bag, the source for Marlins fans, to vent, let's say. For Avi in the role that he's occupied this year, he's been fine, just about. Nevertheless, he goes to the IL with a hamstring tweak. How legitimate that is, how long-term, who knows? Avisail Garcia and his hamstrings, they have proven in his Marlins time to be problematic. Multiple hamstring issues. The thing is for Avi, he is generally a big dude, and he does run fast. You look at his sprint speed on Savant, he's right up there. Like, he moves. That guy can motor. I think we forget. I mean, that's one of the only things he does well, but I think we forget that Avi does have some wheels. And probably because most of the time we're so used to seeing Avi jog into first after he's grounded into a suicide double play. So that's probably why it's a long-lasting view for us. But Avisail Garcia to the IL. We'll wait to see how long. No one asked about the severity. I don't know where that's at. Dane Myers is up. Dane was one of the key contributors in spring. In some ways, he was similar to a Max Meyer, and in some ways, maybe to a Troy Johnston to maybe a slightly greater degree. But these were guys that showed out in spring. There was just no roster spots available for them. Max Meyer ended up on the roster because of the slew of pitching injuries. But Dane Myers went down to AAA, struggled out of the gate. So had a hot spring, struggled, but then heated right back up. Dane Myers back up yesterday. Offensively, first plate appearance, it was a triple. Surprise, surprise, Dane Myers. And this is in that inning where the Marlins offense was rolling. Jazz just hit a salami. Everything's looking sweet. Dane Myers triple. Love to see it. So with Avi down, there's an opening here for Dane Myers to get a decent level of, production. It'll probably be in a similar role to what we've seen with Avi, which is basically a straight up platoon with Jesus Sanchez and maybe some pinch hitting duties. For me, this is great to see Dane Myers. Clearly, the fan base was invigorated by Dane Myers being back out there. And it just gives, it gives us as fans something to track, players to buy into that we want to see succeed. I think that's kind of what's missing with this Marlins offense at the moment, where it's kind of the same old faces and a bunch of role players, and just no one's got no one's mentally committed or willing for anyone to do well. I'm a big fan of Jazz, as you know. So, Jazz at-bats hit different for me, and yesterday's was amazing, of course. But, when Brian De La Cruz is up there and, even Jesus Sanchez, I mean, particularly Tim Anderson and the catchers and Brujan and Rivera, I don't feel anything. So I think for the Marlins fans, considering we're entering this phase of a rebuild now, which is clear, it feels like let's inject some interest in this team. Get some young guys in here that people want to buy into, want to believe in. I want to believe in Dane Myers, and I do believe in him. And I think he's, he looks a good player. Skip Schumaker in the post-game presser was asked about him. And Skip, without really kind of calling it directly, was saying that he deserved to be up based on his performance in spring. It wasn't to be because of the way the roster crunch occurred, but now he's up here. He's got an opportunity and one that I think he can take. Again, I think this is where some of Skip's frustrations of being at, where he basically hasn't had the best tools because of wider discussions, decisions that have been made with this roster. So, Avi down, offense comes alive. Might be nothing, right? I don't know. We'll wait to see. We'll see what offense turns up. I mean, you definitely can't lay anything at the offense yesterday. It was fine. From a pitching perspective, obviously, Ryan Weathers got himself into a bit of trouble. 3 hit by pitches, 3 walks, 6 free bases there. For Ryan Weathers, it's way too much. Way too much. And then he was touched up. And then Bender, I don't know what's happening with Bender, but he's struggling. Pretty much every outing, everything's just hard hit. It's not looking good. So, man, oh man, another disappointment there for the Marlins. No doubt about it. Let me know what game, what was the worst showing for you? Was it the Sunday or was it the Saturday? For me, the Saturday game was just, the poorest game I've seen in a long time in terms of quality. Sunday was fun in some ways, but equally very disturbing in others. So, guys, it's going to wrap us up. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day, guys. I'm going to be back tomorrow with the UK GOAT, Sean Barrett, and we, I think, have a double episode on deck. Tons to get into. A couple of weeks since me and the UK GOAT have got together. There's a lot to get into. A lot to get into with the UK GOAT. Interested to get his sense of what's going on with this Marlins team and what the future looks like here. So we look forward to seeing you then.